Hello everybody, this is your professor from Java programming class, and in this video I want to go over a few programs that shows how we are using overloaded constructor in our programs. So here is a program that you have seen before, which is my class called time2, and I have three instance variables. These are all private: hour, minute, and second. And then I have a number of constructors, and these are all constructors which are overloaded, which basically says these are constructor which has different signatures. So actually I have more of these constructors right over here, and then we will see how they are being used with our program. So let's go over them. So as you can tell, the name of the constructor, it's a special method, is always going to be the same as your class name. So in this case, public time, I do not have anything inside, so there's no parameter. And then inside I say if I do not have any parameter, so in this, if I use this constructor to create this object, then I use this reference which says 0, 0, and 0, which means my hour is set at 0, my minute is set at 0, and my second is set at 0. Now, if I actually comment this one out, I would still get a 0 because by default, my hour, minutes, and seconds are defined as integers, which is by default 0. Look at this second one. This is the constructor where I only accept one parameter, okay, and the one is hour. So whatever value I pass, so if I say time2 time object equals new time2 and pass in the value 5, then the value 5 is set for the hour, okay, you see over here hour, and then the other two are set at 0, so the minutes and seconds are set at 0. Look at my third constructor. In this one, this is time2 again, but I would accept two parameters. So the first one is going to be my hour and the second one is my minute, but the third one is defined as 0. And look at my other or the next constructor. This is my time2, where I would actually expect three parameters: hour, minute, and second, but within that I have some conditions which allows me to check the value that is being inputted correctly or not. Okay, so I'm checking to see that the hour lies between 0 and 24. So if somebody tries to put anything between negative or 25, it is going to evaluate this this statement to be true, my condition to be true, and it's going to throw my new illegal argument exception, which is saying hour must be between 0 to 23. I do the same thing with my minute and my second. So instead of running everything, this if statement with all ors, I'm actually checking for hours, minutes, and second. Now, if none of these things are true, that's when I would say, okay, whatever value that I have passed, my hour, minute, and second, is going to be assigned to my hour, minute, and second. All right. And then I also write something which is my public time2, where now I actually pass in an object reference. Okay, so I want to be able to pass, I want to create something called time2 where I actually would pass an object reference. Okay, and in this case, again, I'm going to say this time.hour, time.minute, time.second. So if I create, if I pass in objects over here, that object that I'm passing, my hour, minutes, and seconds are going to be assigned to that. And then this is something that you have seen before, your set time. Again, in my set time, I'm again running my if condition to check and see if my hour is correct, my minute is correct, and my second is correct. If not, then this is how I'm going to use my set time. Okay, and then I have my set hour and set minute. Okay, and here is my set second. So these are all very, very similar, basically checking to make sure that the value that you're inputting are the correct values. And then I have the get methods, the get hour, get second, and get minute, and this is going to return my hour, minute, and second. Remember, these are all values that are going to be returned, so it's an integer, integer, and integer. And then I have my two universal string and then two string. These are methods that you have seen before. And this is my program to test and see if the overloaded constructors are working. Now remember, the first one is the one with nothing. Okay, the second one is the one with the one parameter. The third one is with two parameter. The fourth one is with three parameters, and the fifth one is where I'm actually passing a time object. Okay, and then I have a system out print line with constructed with, and then I'm calling this method called display time, again, which is coming from my earlier method, which is in my time2, and that is going to display all my methods. So here is my display time, this is my display time, and again look to see what is my method here. This is defined as a private method. So let's run this program to see how these overloaded constructors are working. So if I now do this and run it, so the first one is T1. These are all default arguments. Okay, the second one is where I pass one value, so this is where my hour is set at 2, but everything else is set at 0. The third one is where I pass two arguments, the hour and the minute, and the third one is defaulted at 0. The fourth one is where I pass three values, and the first one is set at hour, minute, and second. And again, I have some conditions over here. If I would have passed anything with 13, then it is going to be anything over 12 is going to be designated as a PM. And then you have your T5, and I'm basically passing the T4 through here, so that's why I'm going to get the same value as my T4, which is my 12, 25, 42. And if I try to pass anything with these kind of values right here, 27, 74, 99, remember these values are not valid values. I'm going to get caught with this exception which says hour must be this, and you need to have the hour between 0 to 23. Let's go to a new program here, and this is a program that is showing that if you have the classes within the same package, then these objects that I create with the use of the different classes that is available within the same package are all accessible. So the first one that I do is I create a class called date, and these are my three instance variable, and now I have a private static, okay, final integer. This is an array that I created with days per month, so it basically goes from 0 to 31. So it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So remember, 0 does not count as January. It is the one that is the month January that has been counted. So I would immediately start off or create this 31 as my day for my January. Okay, then I create this constructor called date, and in this date constructor I basically accept three parameters: month, day, and year. These are all integer, and inside I'm checking to see if the month value is correct. So if anybody tries to input 13 as a month, it's going to catch this and throw this new illegal argument. If anybody is trying to input a day that is less than 0 and more than 31, okay, and of course you are also considering the 28 in there, so that's the leap year arrangement that you have, then you're going to catch that and see if it is correct or not. And then I'm going to take the month, assign it there, my day, assign it there, and my year, assign it there. Okay, and then I have this method called toString. Okay, so this is my first class. So this is my date, where I also have an array stored in here. This is a different class called employee. Okay, and in this class called employee, I have some private instance variables where I'm passing my, or I'm declaring my first name, last name, birth date, and hire date. And then I have this constructor called employee, where I pass and it accepts 1, 2, 3, 4 parameters. The first two are string, the third one is a date, it's an object, and the fourth one is also a date. Okay, and of course the first name is stored in the first name, my last name is stored at the last name, and then birth date and hire date. And then I have this string method, which basically says return the string format, hired, birthday, and I basically set out my output. Okay, the third one is where I'm actually testing everything. Now remember, in this one I am using this employee object, okay, and at the same time I also am using some of the dates. Now the employee itself has some date, okay, so I'm passing some date objects. So this one is calling my employee, which in turn employee is calling this class called date. Okay, so that's how the package access works. Okay, now if I run this, I'm going to get, here is my employee1.getCount. So let's come over here and see what is it that I'm doing over here. So I have my employee, and here is my public employee. And actually let me check and see if I'm running the class correctly. Employee test, not employee1.test. I want to actually do the employee.test. So employee, so this is my employee.test. So here is my date class, here is my employee, and here's my employee. And in this one, what I do is I use this object called birth, which is of the type date. I use another object called hire, which is of the type date, and then I also use an object called employee, which is of the type employee. So then I pass these 4 arguments when I call my employee, because if you remember, here is my employee constructor, which is expecting 2 strings and 2 dates. So now if I run this, I'm saying date object constructor for date is this, and then object constructor for date is 9/5/2008. So here is the first one, 7/6/2014, and here is the second one, which is 9/15/2018. So Maguire Jerry hired on this, birthday is this. All right, so this is showing that these are 2 classes that I'm using in this particular test class, and they are all in the same package. Let us now look into another program, which is testing my enum type. Now this is something that you have seen before, so I'm going to open up my book, which is using my enum and then my enum test. All right, so now let's look into the book. This is a class called book, but it is a enum type of class. Okay, and what this does is it will allow me to access the constant value that is given out over here. So what I'm trying to say is, you know how you had integer, so you say your integer value is nothing but anything from 0 to 9, okay, or 0 to 100. So there is a range of values that you say is my integer value, so 0 to 9. If I say I have a double value, then I have a range of values that I have access to. Similarly, when I create an enum class, this is basically the range of values that I have access to. Okay, so let's take a look at this class. So this is my book, and I have 2 instance variable, title and copyright here, and both of them are defined as final and private, which means I should not be making any changes to it, because remember, in enum you're basically giving access to a set of constant values that you have created. Now I have this constructor called book, and this one would take in a title and a copyright here. So every time I use this class called book, I would pass in a title and a copyright here, and basically my title goes to this title and copyright here goes to this copyright here. And then I have a method called get title and get copyright here. So get title is going to return my title, and get copyright here is going to return my copyright here. So let's now look at the test. So what I'm seeing over here is, first off, I have to import this enum set, okay? And this is my enum test where I have a main method. So the first thing I do is print out all books. This is my output. And then I write a for statement. And I say book dot value. So anytime I'm trying to access this book, which is my object or my class over here, I want to access my values that I had set. So these are my values, JHTP to CSHARTP. So that's my set of values. So I'm going to access these values, and then system out print line. I'm going to display the book, the title, and the copyright here. And then I would write another system out statement, and I'm going to say display the range of book, and then I'm going to use this again, book enum set dot range. So this is basically a method that I'm using, which is coming from this enum set. So this is my import statement that I need to bring in. If I don't have this import statement, I'm going to get an error with this enum set dot range, okay? Because this, anything that you see over here, get title and get copyright, is something that I have already written. Get title and get copyright here. However, if I want to use this set or this method, then I have to use this enum set. So now if let's run it. So this is what I'm seeing over here. So from the first set of method, this is my for method, all books, I am getting the entire set. Remember, this is my book, this is my get title, and this is my get copyright here, okay? And when I run the enum range, this is where I get display a range of enum constant, and it just gives me the entire thing. So that's my HTTP book. So starting from here all the way up to here, okay? Now if I would change this thing, let's say I would change it, and let's say I want to come only up to here, okay? So then if I do this, so this is my range now, okay? Now I'm only going to get the title up to this range. So if I run this enum test again, now look into my range, going from JHTP all the way to IW3HTP, okay? So this is basically giving me my range. So this is another way you can use this range, okay? This one is giving you everything, but this one is giving you a range starting with the 0th value to the range to up to, you know, however many that you would like to consider.